Our team owners, our drivers, our track operators, and all of our stakeholders have asked us to do, which is make the racing even more compelling on an hour-by-hour basis,
Here we go,
week in
guys.
and week out. And so with that, I'm gonna bring up Steve O'Donnell, who heads all of our racing operations, to give you some detail.
Thanks, Brian. Before we get started and go through today's announcement, I think it's really important to recognize some of the folks who participated as core members of the industry's effort to bring all this together. And first, to my left, a big thanks to Jeff Gordon and Jeff Burton. Both made a great deal of time for this. They've been instrumental voices in helping us shape what we're excited to share with everyone today. There were many individuals that were involved, and I want to introduce some of those that are part of the working group and are here with us today. So let me start off and introduce the folks on the stage. To start off, Executive Vice President, Chief Operating Officer of International Speedway Corporation, Joey Chitwood. The President of Roush Fenway Racing, Steve Newmart. President of Hendrick Motorsports, Marshall Carlson. President of Joe Gibbs Racing, Dave Alpern. The President of Stewart Haas Racing, Brett Frood. President and CEO of Speedway Motorsports, Marcus Smith. Driver of the number 11 Toyota for Joe Gibbs Racing, Denny Hamlin. Driver of the number 88 Chevrolet for Hendrick Motorsports, Dale Earnhardt Jr. And driver of the number 2 Ford for Penske Racing, Brad Kozlowski. Thank you all for being here with us today, and especially for your time and effort throughout this entire process. So race formats, something we spent a great deal of time collectively talking about, and believe we're at a point now that's the right time to make enhancements. And as evidenced by today's participation, we believe it's a great example, as Brian said, of the industry coming together ultimately for the race fans. The enhanced format that we're going to talk about is going to reward performance over the course of the entire season, something our fans has consistently asked for. Every race matters, and winning is more important than ever. The format's going to be implemented across all 3 of our national series. And finally, the enhanced format will allow stage-winning moments. Drivers are rewarded for their efforts. It minimizes green flags, interruptions from a broadcast perspective. Again, another win for our race fans. So here's how it'll work. The race is going to be divided into 3 stages.
We all heard it.
Stage 1, the stage will conclude on a specific lap. So every race fan, every crew member, every team member will know in advance what constitutes a stage length. The race will begin. Pit road will be closed approximately 5 laps prior to the stage ending. And at the conclusion of stage 1, the top 10 drivers are awarded points. 10 for first, 9 for second, on down to 1 for 10th. In addition, the winner of the stage will receive 1 point for the playoffs, and I'll touch on that a little bit in a moment. The cars will remain on the track under yellow flag conditions. We'll open pit road, and pit stops will be covered live. After the cars have cycled through their pit stops, the stage winner and crew chief will be interviewed via either in-car, or PA, or TV, and then we'll start stage 2 exactly the way the cars came off pit road.
Really?
Stage 2, exact same way as stage 1. Top 10 will be awarded points, and then there's 1 point for the playoffs awarded to the winner. The final stage of the race will be concluded just like races are today. Race points and purse are paid out based on this stage, and 40 points will be awarded to the race winner. We've eliminated bonus points for leading a lap or leading the most laps. We've built that into the overall point system.
Wow.
Overtime still in play. At the end of the race, we're going to make every effort to finish the race under green. The race winner is playoff eligible and will receive 5 points for each win for the playoffs. Again, every race matters, and drivers are rewarded for their efforts all race long. The playoffs. How does this affect our playoff system? We talked about the races. Let's talk about the playoffs. Here's what won't be changing. Eligibility remains the same. It's based on race wins and points. The number of drivers and teams, the elimination structure all remains. 16 drivers, down to 12, down to 8, down to 4. You win and you advance to the next round. The number of rounds remain the same with 4, and the number of races with 10. We'll reseed after each round, and we'll continue the tradition of heading into Homestead, Miami with the finale with 4 drivers straight up for the championship. Here's the enhancements that we've added. Our fans have spoken and will now declare a regular season champion based on the most points earned through the first 26 races. We'll also award points for the playoffs based on regular season performance, and that will carry through the first 3 rounds of the playoffs. What you do in those first 26 races really matters, not only to get into the playoffs, but continue to move on in each round. Race wins will be awarded with 5 points. Those will also carry through the first 3 rounds and continue to build throughout the rounds as we head to Miami. Stage wins will be awarded 1 point. That 1 point will carry through the playoffs as well through the first 3 rounds. Simply put, there are 3 ways to earn playoff points: stage wins, race wins, and regular season playoff points.
Stage wins, everybody.
Using this example, if a driver had 1 stage win, 1 race win, and led the regular season in points, they'd have 21 points at the start of the playoffs heading into Chicago. The bottom line for this is that it's about listening and rewarding the drivers, listening to the fans, having more moments, and more importantly, carrying this out through the entire season. With that, I'll turn it back to Adam and Kristen.
Steve, there's no doubt this is an unprecedented night for the sport of NASCAR. Can you put in perspective how we got to this point?
I think that the biggest takeaway for all of you should be how we got here is the folks you see up on stage and the countless others that put hours and hours into this. This truly was a collaboration, a lot of give and take, and ultimately everybody here on this stage wanted to do what was right for the fans, and we believe we've done that. There's certainly things we continue to look at, but really proud of the effort by the entire group on this stage.
Well, let's hear from the drivers, and I'm going to just pose one question, and Denny, I'll start with you, and then Dale, Brad down the line, you guys just take it. What does this mean for you as a driver specific to each race?
There are no off weeks. Every single race matters. I think Steve hit it on the nail on the head there. And not only that, but every lap of every race matters. From our standpoint, you always felt a little bit relaxed once you got a race win. And you would sometimes maybe go into test mode or something. Now, with each accomplishment that you have during each given race, whether you're collecting points for the overall regular season or you're trying to collect points through a stage win or a race win, each accomplishment gives your road to Homestead a little bit easier. It gives you a little bit of a cushion there to be able to get through the playoffs and make it to Homestead. And that's what it's all about for us, is making it to Homestead and trying to race for a championship. And I think this format does it for us.
Looks like people will
I agree with that.
more points
I love the
throughout
fact that the
besides
bonus
just
points or
winning
the playoff points will carry through the playoffs all the way to the last round. So everything you do throughout the season is really going to help you throughout the playoffs. That's a great change. Also, the stages are going to bring a lot of excitement for the drivers and the fans. I was in a unique position this past season to be a driver and a fan, and definitely I think this creates a lot of interest in a part of the event, in every event, every single week where it was needed. So there'll be a lot on the line. It's going to be very interesting to watch these crew chiefs try to figure out the strategies that will help their drivers obtain the most points for each stage. And it's going to be fun to see how this evolves. I think it's an exciting time for NASCAR, and the fans should be pretty excited about this.
Wow, I can't believe.
Yeah, I think of stages, Dale
like
and Denny, and I think of more chances to win, more chances to perform, and more spotlights. So, I look at races as soon as, the plate tracks, especially Talladega, and you might have seen cars that have lagged back in the past. You're not going to do that anymore. The single file, high line, ride out, those days are gone, and I think that's great. We're going to go out there and we're going to race to a new level that we haven't seen before, and I'm really pumped about being a part of that in the future of this sport. This is, to me, you look at NASCAR and you look at the way our races were formatted back in the 40s and 50s. It was formatted around endurance, long races, trying to make sure you're there to the end. But today's technology, the teams are just so smart. And if we created motorsports from scratch today, this is exactly how we would have done it. So it's something I'm very proud of.
Steve, you mentioned how key the Jeffs were in this. So let's hear from you. Jeff, your thoughts?
Well, I love how Steve put it, enhancements. I definitely think this is going to enhance the experience of the competitors as well as the viewers and the fans at home. I got to say, just being a part of this, in that room, collaborating and hearing the different views and having everybody's input from team principals, track operators and owners, the drivers, NASCAR networks. It was a pretty amazing experience, and I think what came out of it was this balance between what the fans are asking for and what we can do to make the races even more exciting and make more moments, but also balancing out competition and what the competitors are going to go through. And I think we came out with something really incredible. And I had a new perspective this last year being in the booth. So I'm really excited about getting back in the booth and calling these races with the stages.
Yeah, and from my point, when we're not broadcasting a race, I'm watching the races. I'm a race fan. I love watching racing, and I go to races. I watch races live. I watch them on television. And when a race fan buys a ticket to go to a race, that race fan deserves to see a race that matters. That race fan deserves to see a race that's going to impact the championship. And the win you're in, it's awesome, but it also took the drivers and the teams off the hook a little bit. Now, the drivers and the teams, after they've gotten that win, they still have a reason to go race. They still have a reason to go earn points that will ultimately help get them to Homestead. Every one of these guys wants to win a cup championship. That's what they're doing. So if you incentivize these guys and they race their guts out, but if you incentivize them to go earn something during the race, it makes it so they want to race that much harder. And race fans deserve to see races that matter. And this is an enhancement that will help make that happen. And when races matter, the fans win.
Let's bring in Steve
All right,
Newmark.
guys, so
what has it been like to
it
be a
seems
part
like,
of this process from the team side?
Many of us were involved last year in the charter discussions, which really just involved the teams in NASCAR. And this was...
Okay, so here's the breakdown. They're going to break the races into 3 segments. If you win one of these segments, you will be awarded a point. 1 point for the first 2 segments. Or I forgot how many segments you do. I think it was 3. Anyway, and then the last segment, if you win the race, you get 5 points. So they're going to be spreading out the points even more than just getting a win and you're in. Yeah, sure, it's kind of terrible. They're breaking it down into quarters, segments, whatever. But do you remember those races when rain was coming, how the racing just picked up when all of a sudden the end of the segment was coming? You guys know what I'm saying? So there's a positive right there with getting these segments and people getting points that way. Also, in between segments, they will be talking with the winner and the crew chief. This seems very weird. It's going to be like a NASCAR intermission or something like that. They're like, all right, here we go, hit the nationwide commercials. While they get, it's a whole change coming to NASCAR. And I guess I'm going to be happy to be a part of this, to see how this all plays out. It seems like these drivers are liking it. I thought Brad Keselowski said something negative about it, but it turns out he's into it too. So we'll see how it goes. How long will it take Duesenberry Martin to implicate this into a video game? I'm assuming we're going to have to wait until about 2020 for them to put this into a video game now. So for all of us NASCAR fans, we're kind of screwed in the video game market anyway. But yes, they're breaking the races down into segments for 2017. Once again, if you win one of the segments, you will be awarded 1 point. And if you win the overall race at the end, you will get 5 points. So a bunch of different teams will benefit from this change. I am out of here, everybody. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for hanging out. Until next time, we will see you in the games. Have a good